James Bond, a kidnapped 11-year-old, and a Mars rover are all on this day. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is June 10th, 2021. It is the 161st day of the year. We got 204 days left in this year. It is the 23rd Thursday in 2021 in the 24th week, 83rd day of spring. We got 11 days until summer. There are no special events today. Yeah, nothing. So let's see what else happened on June 10th. 1916, the Arab revolt against the Ottoman Empire was declared by Hussein bin Ali Sharif of Mecca. If you don't know anything about the Ottoman Empire, you should read up on it. It's very, very interesting. It went on for a very long time. Here in the United States, we kind of brush over it in high school history and stuff like that. Not too much focus. I've talked to other people that are from Europe, have a guy I know from Turkey. That's a big focus of their studies when they're in school. Not here in the United States. It's the other side of the world, really didn't affect us much. But definitely is very interesting. 1944, 15-year-old Joe Nuxhall of the Cincinnati Reds becomes the youngest player ever in a major league game. 15 years old. That's incredible. This is a different time back then, but still. 1963, the Equal Pay Act of 1963, aimed at abolishing wage disparity based on sex, was signed into law by John F. Kennedy as part of the New Frontier program. 1977, James Earl Ray escapes from Brushy Mountain State Prison in Tennessee. He was recaptured 3 days later. 1991, 11-year-old Jaycee Dugard is kidnapped in South Lake Tahoe, California. She would remain captive until 2009. If you don't know this story, it is very, very interesting, and she could have been found so many different times, but government and police officials just kind of dropped the ball. She was standing out in front of her house waiting for the school bus to come, and a vehicle drove up, grabbed her, and snatched her. Her stepfather saw this and only had a mountain bike with him, so he gave chase, and eventually they got away. She disappeared. She was held captive, and all kinds of horrible things happened to her in Antioch, California. She was abducted by a pedophile named Philip and his wife, Nancy Garrido. In 1976, he kidnapped a woman, took her to a warehouse, and was doing what weirdos do, and a police officer saw the van parked in front of the warehouse, and it shouldn't have been there. He opened up the door, and he was sent to Leavenworth Prison, where he met Nancy, who was there visiting her uncle. Leavenworth is a federal prison. He was sentenced to 50 years, but only served 11, and then was released to Nevada State Prison for other stuff, and he served 7 months of a 5 years to life sentence in Nevada. Then he was finally transferred to California, where he finally got out in 1988, and it wasn't long after that he abducted Jaycee Dugard. Now, where they dropped the ball, there was a couple different things. There were warning signs, like the neighbor told them to check this out because something weird was going on there, and the police really didn't do it. He had a parole officer that was supposed to come inspect the house. He didn't. There was a couple different calls that were credible that they really didn't follow up on. One man said that he saw her looking at a picture of herself on one of those missing posters and called the police right away, said they got in a yellow van. The police never found the yellow van, really didn't look too hard for it. When they finally found her in 2009, there was a yellow van on the property. How she was discovered or found was really interesting. He had gone to the University of California, Berkeley, accompanied by two girls that were known as his daughters. He wanted to pass out some religious flyers or something like that, so he talked to some campus police, and they said something wasn't right about his daughters and all this, so they had him come back because they had to get approval. They lied and said they had to get approval for him to pass these things out. So when he came back, they got more information from him, and then they found out he was on parole. They contacted his parole officer, said, yeah, he was here with his two daughters. The parole officer said he doesn't have two daughters. The parole officers went to his house and they talked to him, and they still didn't find her. And then the parole officer called him and told him he needed to come to the office, bring the two girls that were with him, and all this other stuff. They finally get there. The police show up. They start interrogating everyone, and I guess the girls and Jaycee were, sticking to their story that her name was Alyssa, and one thing led to another, and they found out who she was. She was reunited with her family in 2009, and he's in prison for the rest of his life, which is a good thing. But it's a very interesting story. She wrote a book called A Stolen Life, which is supposed to be pretty good. I haven't read it, but since I did the research of this, I think I might. 2002, the first direct electronic communication experiment between the nervous system of two humans is carried out by Kevin Warwick in the United Kingdom. 2003, the Spirit rover is launched, beginning NASA's Mars Exploration Rover mission. 2009, James Von Brunn, who was 88 years old at the time, opened fire inside the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum and fatally shoots the museum's special police officer, Stephen Tyrone Johns. Other security guards returned fire, wounding Von Brunn, who was then apprehended. That idiot only lived like another year and died in prison. Movies released on June 10th, 1983, Octopussy, Roger Moore's sixth time playing the iconic MI6 agent James Bond. Anyway, it's a whole uncover a jewel smuggling operation headed by the title character, Octopussy. I don't know what Ian Fleming's deal was and why all his villains had these weird names like Octopussy and Pussy Galore, Dr. Holly Goodhead, Plenty O'Toole, Honey Rider. Weird names. Something was wrong with that dude, but he did write good books. Born on June 10th, 1968, Bill Burr, one of the best stand-up comedians going. This guy is hysterical. I love everything he says. Everything that comes out of his mouth is like gold. Died on June 10th. 2016, we lost Christina Grimmie. She was a girl from YouTube and she was on The Voice. She was a singer. She did a performance in Orlando and some weird obsessed fan shot her out in front of the venue while she was talking to fans or whatever. It's tragic. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Now go out, be productive, and be nice to each other.